to episode 3 of Reflection Talks. My name is Spiridula and I am the Project and Partnerships Manager of Youthmakers Hub, and I will be your host for today. Reflection Talks is the theme of our Refl'Action vidcast series. For those wondering what a vidcast is, it's simply a podcast with video content. So the series includes 4 episodes from April 2022 to May 2023, and each episode will explore a different topic related to the use of reflection as a practice to promote the well-being and transferability of learning to empower young people. For the ones who are watching us for the first time, Refl'Action is a project that focuses not only, as I said before, on promoting the well-being and transferability of learning to empower young people, but also to promote an active lifestyle aimed at conscious growth. The project has received funding from the European Union's Erasmus Plus program, and it is implemented from December 2021 until May 2023. It involves partners from France, Italy, and Greece. But it's time to start. The topic of our episode is are the tips for developing reflection in young people? And for today, our guest is Panagiotis Manouzakis. Welcome, Panagiotis.
Welcome.
Panagiotis is the president and co-founder of ROES and experiential and learning expert. We are very happy to have you here, Panagiotis. Do you want to introduce yourself to tell us some things about the organization and what you're doing?
Great. Thank you very much for the invitation. As you said, my name is Panagiotis. I'm in the field of experiential learning since 1999. I started as a volunteer scout leader back then, working with young kids. And throughout the years, in 2013, I also became a professional in the field of experiential learning. By starting developing and facilitating learning contexts. So basically, what I have been doing all these years is that I work with young people or young adults, I would say better, in the field of non-formal learning, mostly through residential learning experiences, several of them through Erasmus Plus or Youth in Action back then. And since 2020, since COVID came to our life, together with 6 more like-minded people, we gathered together and we created a social cooperative named ROES Cooperativa, ROES Coop, which ROES is a social cooperative that it's aiming basically to reintroduce experiential non-formal learning to Greece and to create innovation in non-formal education. We work with 13 different non-formal education methodologies. We are several, so it's not only me I'm doing these streams, but some of the co-founders are more expert in some methodologies, some others in others. So like this, we create, that's why we are called ROES streams. We create several streams coming together to create this innovation. So yeah, that's it more or less.
Very nice. I think we will have a very nice discussion today, not only from your experience, but also you can share with us your, your experience with and how the other founders working in Roes Cooperativa.
Okay.
Very nice. Um, so we have asked the Refl'Action audience to set some questions for Panagiotis, and today we will see what the audience also wants to know about reflection and reflective activities. So let's start with the first question. Panagiotis, from your experience, were reflective activities always part of non-formal education? Or It's a modern educational tool.
Mhm. Yeah, it's difficult to say because I think reflection comes together with non-formal education. I think uh, non-formal education cannot exist without reflection, and reflection cannot exist without some sort of experiential learning. So I think they are very much combined. Now, speaking of activities per se, like reflecting activities, there were always somehow because like when experiential learning got defined, it got defined through this called circle that includes reflection. So the question is how much attentiveness we show to these reflection processes.
Exactly, exactly. And maybe just a comment. I think that after COVID and the pandemic, this attention we pay to the importance of these activities might have changed. Let's move on. Now you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
different.
No, for me it was a bit weird this COVID period because it moved me to work online and it was very difficult to reflect because sometimes
Mhm.
it's quite difficult to see when you do online activities.
Yeah,
But that's another question. So let's move forward.
yes, let's move. Um, which are the best practices for a trainer or youth worker or educator to include reflective activities?
Oof. That's a very difficult question. I don't know who asked this question, but for sure this person wanted to torture me. For me, there is no best practice. For me, there is, let's say, each learning context has different learning needs. So, different learning needs have different ways of doing reflection. So I have my favorite ones, of course, but I cannot say that this is the reflection process that you have to follow as a facilitator. So yeah,
Mhm.
like for example, myself, I don't really like much group reflections. Like when there is a whole group standing and there is reflection. I prefer that they divide the group in smaller groups and they have someone to support them in reflecting by coaching, only coaching, not mentoring even them, and supporting them reflecting. There are other moments that I choose to use silent self-reflection, and like the whole group after an intensive process goes out in the nature, spend 1 hour. Sometimes I give them some questions to be together and come back. Sometimes I ask them to share with another person what are the outcomes. So it's very difficult to say what is the best way to reflect. I would say we have to define what is the best way to reflect based on the learning process we follow and the learning journey that we have developed because every day the same thing might be also repeated, might also be not productive, and something that it's quite important is that there is no possibility that there is no reflection in a way. Even if you don't set up a reflection and you give a break, your group very likely are going to go, oh, what was that? Did you see this happening? And there's going to be a reflection anyhow. So the way you choose reflections is somehow um, something that is built up the way you build your program.
Yeah, exactly. Very nice. Um, what are the benefits from your experience of using reflective activities?
Um, Using reflecting activities is basically one of the ways of learning. Some people, by reflecting, they get a lot of learning for themselves. Some people, like me, I reflect way later than the event. So sometimes a reflection is like, okay, why we do this? It doesn't make sense. Why I have to answer these questions now? But sometimes when I go home and um, get something, yeah, I consider myself slow learner. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So basically, it's learning the benefit of reflecting activities and basically understanding what is the experience process that the learner went through. And can be that it's solid learning that now I learned something, but it can be also a way that now I'm more open to this. So not only learning, but it can be behavior, it can be attitude towards life. Yeah, that's it,
Yes.
I think.
Nice. I agree with you. Yes, of course. Um, the next question is about how you would recommend to youth workers to include this kind of activity. I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I said it's very tricky to give a recipe because it's depending on the group, it's depending on the process, it's depending on the time of the day, it's depending on how many hours you work before. It's really depending. So the answer is depends. The answer is try out different means of reflection and see what fits for you. First of all, as a youth worker facilitator, how it works for you to uh, with this activity, and then okay, do it again. If it works better, yes. If it doesn't work, just hide it under the carpet. Use the next one until you find your way, your style. And I would say the answer is flying hours here. So try, see what works, see what doesn't work, and in this way, learn through experience yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, you described to us some ways, or maybe how you did it before. Do you have some methods, processes, or activities you integrate in your reflective practices? It's in the same cluster,
Hmm.
let's say, of the
Yeah,
questions about.
yeah. Like for me, as I said, my favorite one is. Not to do it in group, but I divide the group in smaller groups. Usually, if I have the privilege and the luck to have some people that I have worked before, I set up these people in this learning context as the support group leaders or mentors or however you want to call them, depends on the context. We give different name every time, but basically these people are going there and say, okay, tell me, and they support people to share what is important for them, um, how to work, what is happening to them. Sometimes they come with some set of questions, etc. What is the main role of this person is that it supports the learners to go to themselves. So it's not about I didn't like the food, etc. And yeah, but it's okay. What it creates for you not liking the food and how this does influence your learning, etc., etc. So there are several group processes happening, and then I meet with these people and I say, okay, tell me, how is your group? But then I ask anonymous to don't tell me like, okay, this person said this, but one person from my group said that they are learning. So in this way, I also get the reflecting of the groups, and it supports me also to understand where they are and how I can adjust or develop the learning process for them in order to support their learning. This is one of my favorite. Silent self-reflections are something that I really enjoy, in a sense that very likely either through a hike. So sometimes we go with a group, we leave the first 15 minutes warm up, then half an hour self-reflection in silence, then another 10 minutes, we give a question. Then after 15 minutes, we find a person and talk about this question. So there are also moving silent processes, including nature. Um, Several times I enjoy giving what's so-called homework, which is basically some simple tasks that they support people to reflect. So, okay, I don't have time now to go into reflection, etc. But take this paper, read it, do it, and see you tomorrow. And this also might trigger discussions informally with other people okay, what is this paper? Oh, how about this? And even informally, there is reflection. So these are three of the main ways that I recall now that reflection is used by me. But there are other ways, like, for example, I enjoy a lot doing in the last day of my programs meta reflection. And what do I mean by that is that I ask people, okay, this was the program. Ask questions about the program and why we did this and how we did this and why we chose this, etc. So I ask people to ask difficult questions. Why you decided to do this in day three, and this was a bit weird for me, and what was the intent? So I share from my side the build-up of the methodology or the choices we are making to build a program like this, and like this, I support people understand. Okay, they did it with this purpose. Does this work for me? Uh, uh, so in this way, there is also some sort of meta reflection happening, and I enjoy doing it a lot, especially in trainings where youth workers are there, and I support them reflect, but also get something from the methodology and the way I build programs. So it's reflection and training for youth workers in the same time.
Very nice. Yes. Wow, many processes and activities you shared with us. Very interesting. And for me, hiking reflection would fit
Mm.
my personality perfectly.
Yeah, it's not very easy, I have to admit that, to keep a group silent. That's the biggest challenge. So you really have to create some context, atmosphere. It's, it's not very easy. Keep that in mind as well if you try it. So, for those who are intending to use it, really don't say that these are the steps, but write a script how I'm going to start talking to the group to keep it silent, to tell them things that they might. If you want to go to the toilet, don't ask, just go. And this kind of things you really need to brief. So be prepared when you give these activities because sometimes it sounds easy, but can be complicated.
Yeah, and practically, you can find many difficulties if you haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
Very nice. And our last question, it's about if you can describe to us some actions that need to be avoided when using reflective methods.
Hmm. Nice question. Uh, I haven't thought of it as a methodology myself, but because I believe I somehow do it intuitively. But one of the things I said is that when reflection is coming, I'm not busy from whom it's coming. So, especially in this group setting, for me, it's important to understand what is the need and not from whom this need is coming. So, it helps me not to judge people. Ah, this person said this, or this person thinks like that. So, for me, it supports that I go beyond judgment on the reflection and. I know that anyhow everything is okay in non-formal learning. Every person is invited to come under some specific objectives, and what they learn, first of all, besides that it's their responsibility, it is also okay. So, how to regulate that in a way, I really don't know. Besides keeping the context in a learning way, a learning context, and not going to blaming and into this kind of business that, yeah, well, it's not very productive, I would say. Uh, yeah, I'm not really sure. I have to be honest. Like, it's quite intuitive the way I do it. So, yeah, yeah. Just creating a safe space, and what safe space means, it's really again depending on the group, because if you're with a group of young people that you work the whole year, is different the safe space than a group that you met 3 days ago and you're there 50 people from different countries. So again, it's depending, but having in mind how to create a safe space where everyone can share. And also, that's one of the reasons that I don't really like the big group sharings, because everyone can share in a closer circle. So what I really want to make sure that there is a reflective space for everyone and not exclude the people from reflection, uh, thus creating a safe space. So yes,
Very nice. Thank you very much, Panagiotis, for all the answers and your contribution to this vidcast.
thank you very
Um,
much too.
I don't know if you have any final output or comments to add.
I'm
I
very curious to see the other vidcasts of this series, and I'm really willing to see them first when you publish them. So I'm gonna be checking uh, the website of your project. Besides that, I want to thank you because I know that you are quite of a young organization like us, and you are already uh, going deep into what are you doing. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you for what are you doing, and I really look forward doing more things with you in this direction. And yeah, hope that this vidcast support someone, and if they want something, they can always approach me, ask me, or ask you, and you find me. And this is why we do what we do, to support other people learning. So yeah, I'm here today for this, and I will be hopefully around for this as well.
exactly. Thank you very much, Panagiotis.
Thank you.
This was the episode 3 of Reflection Talks. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and of course, to stay tuned for the next episode.